Okay, would you mind putting the slide, the beginning of the economic analysis, please? Yeah, no, one, yeah, well, that'll be fine. None of these parameters will be, the turbidity, alkalinity, hardness are affected by the UV light. Actually, what you're comparing is UV versus chlorine, that's it. The rest of the treatment plan has to be there, that you have to remove all the solids, everything. So the difference is whether the economic analysis should be whether the cost of the adding chlorine or adding UV or having both. Because with UV you don't have a residual effect that you will have with chlorine. With chlorine you have also residual effects beyond that, like the contamination or things like that. So that's a true analysis. The rest of the analysis, I don't find it relevant because the plant still will have to be built. You need to clean everything. The question is also whether you mentioned that you want to put this UV at the end of the process, not in a central, but this is pretty much in a central area because otherwise you want to put it in the house. Like as in my house, I have a filter, and the filter includes some type of carbon-activated things plus UV. But I live in Coral Gables. This is Cuba. They won't have electricity. Anyways, I find this more appropriate to other places, and I think that your economic analysis is missing. It's just only chlorine versus UV, unless I'm missing something, please.
Okay, yes, let me go back to the Herradura map, where it's at the beginning of the presentation. Okay, as I was saying, we determined to place the UV lamp at the end of the distribution line. So we are planning to have like 4 or 5 tower tanks on the small neighborhoods, so we can place the UV lamp at the end, right away where we are distributing the water into the houses. Small houses like small neighborhoods compared here with condominiums or something like that. That's the main idea. That's the way we think we can reduce the risk of contaminating the water after the water leaves the UV lamp.
But I don't see the cost of the towers. You see, if you're gonna do that, and again, it's just it's chlorine versus UV. You need to add the cost of the towers because you will require an additional treatment at the end, closer to the person who uses the water.
Thank you.
So you said you're going to have 5 units. That's what you're saying?
Yes, depending, we have to do future calculation, but depending on the growth of the population, because this project is to be implemented in the future, and we don't know actually how the population is going to behave in the future and how the economy is going to be. We are planning to establish the UV lamps at the end, maybe 4 or 5, depending on the population and the distribution of the population in the area.
And then on the economic analysis, you're using prices from 2001?
Yes, they're using prices from 2001.
Do you think the price from 2001 will be the same price that 2019?
As I was saying, this is going to be implemented in the future. Actually, we don't know this is an assumption. This is going to be implemented when Cuba reaches the free market, and when Cuba has the possibility to pay for it, or maybe has sponsors.
But more than that, do you think the price from 2019 will be the same price as 2001?
It's going to decrease probably, depending on how developed the technology is going to be.
Okay. In your written report, I think you made an assumption of 10,000 population here,
Yes.
and then you said that the increase would be from 10,000 to 20,000 or not. I think you mentioned that, and you have made that adjustment now. But I think
Yes,
in the
we
written
made-
report you made it from 10 to 20. I think, and
Yeah.
then I don't remember the period of time, but I think it was 10 years or 20 years.
20 years.
20 years. Well, at the beginning of the revolution, there was 6 million population in Cuba. Now there is 11. So in 60 years, the population even hasn't duplicated. Well, the other million is probably here. But going to the system that you're proposing, I think it's a kind of sophisticated system for this, and I don't know the way to operate. Also, you need to train people and all of that, and probably the initial cost of you said that it's a low capital cost. When you mentioned in your presentation low capital cost, what you were referring to? To the equipment?
To the equipment.
To the-
Also, the system has been implemented in Africa and
Yeah.
is being successful. So probably Cuba has a higher level of education than Africa.
Okay. All right. That answers my question.
Since you said you were going to put the UV lights at the end of the process, what is at the beginning of the process? What's the current water treatment in Herradura at this point?
Okay. The water is coming from groundwater and it's
From an
going to
aquifer?
be
From an
pumped.
aquifer?
Aquifer, yeah.
Okay. And
The quality of the water in rural area in Cuba is pretty good. It hasn't been contaminated with chemicals neither, because the rural activity in Cuba is pretty basic, so it doesn't have that many contaminants like in many other places. So we are gonna pump the water and we are gonna treat it how Gloria was saying, and then we're gonna put it into a water tank, and we're gonna treat it with a UV lamp to kill the giardia. That is what is affecting the population of Cuba.
okay. And since the electrical system in Cuba is so unreliable, are you relying on storage of the tanks to sustain the system? And is there some kind of system that would say, no, you can't send the water out for distribution because the electrical hasn't worked in 2 days?
Okay, so yeah, hopefully that won't happen in the future Cuba, and we can support the system with solar panels, and we have the water storage in the tanks.
So, who came from Herradura?
No,
None
any
of
of
you?
us came from Herradura.
Okay.
Our previous team leader came.
Yeah, he came from
The previous
Herradura.
team leader. So
Mhm.
I just want to say that this is a real project and there is a real problem. And giardia is very common in Cuba.
Mhm.
And I came from there, I lived with giardia all of my life. So I can relate to that. And I think that you have a real project, you have a real solution. You need to believe more in your product. You don't need to think about the future of Cuba. You should think about how to implement it now, like the previous teams that were presenting. How can we implement now? How can we bring a solution that can fix the problem? Not thinking about the future, thinking about right now. And I think that, as you mentioned, it was implemented in Africa. Why not implement it in Cuba? Right now.
Honestly,
So it's just a comment that you have a great project. If you believe in it, you can make it happen.
honestly, I don't think that it can be implemented in Cuba because the Cuban government wouldn't allow it. Like a few months ago, we had hurricane in Cuba, and Cuba doesn't want the Cuban exile community to help the Cuban people. So with the current government, it won't be possible to implement any project in Cuba right now, honestly.
I think that's not the right approach. And I think that, yes, they're willing to accept support if you go through the proper channels, and that's different. And what you're proposing is going to help not only people from Herradura. If it's a cost-effective solution, it can help everyone in multiple small towns in Cuba. So I think that you can believe in your product and you can implement it.
Okay, thank you.